Hello and welcome to Stop the Press. Here we are again on episode number, I've forgotten, about 30, something like that.
And research again.
Yeah, I know, well done me. Please do like and subscribe because there's lots of this type of stuff in there. I'm here with Bill Martin, who's 35 years in the business as a sub-editor and editor on both local and national titles. I'm here with myself, who teaches journalism at Exeter College. We have no Nick Copson today. Nick is currently stuck on the A303 in traffic, and we are hoping he will be here for the second episode that we're recording today, which will actually be the first one that goes out on our World Cup predictions. And the reason we're doing World Cup predictions and we're doing lots of sport today is we have a special guest. Our special guest is Chris Errington. Chris, tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks very much for inviting me onto the podcast, first of all. You probably best know me from the Plymouth Herald and Plymouth Live, the website that I now primarily work for. Started at the Herald in 1995 as a sports reporter and took over coverage of Plymouth Argyle in 1997 from the legendary Graham Hamley, who we can talk about perhaps a bit later, and was a real role model for me and lots of other people. And 1997, and here I am 29 seasons later, still reporting on Argyle, still going through the emotional pain and the highs and lows, but loving it still. Still, all these years on in my career, I get to get paid and go and watch football games. It's not quite as simple as that, and there's all the travelling and the hours that Bill would have witnessed me doing, and signing my expenses forms for long distance travels here, there, and everywhere. But what a lucky person I've been to watch a football club and get to really get under its skin for so many years.
The dream of so many youngsters, basically.
Absolutely, and it was my dream at school. I remember Christchurch School in Ramsgate in Kent, a seaside town on the east coast of Kent, and my English teacher would always say to me, or say to the class, Monday morning, write something about what you did at the weekend. Well, my dad always took me to see the local team, Ramsgate. So what did I do? I'd write reports about Ramsgate, and I was 6 or 7. And
wow.
I remember the teacher saying to me, you should think about being a football reporter. And I said, no, I'm going to be a professional football player. And
we all were.
and at a very young age, it soon became apparent that was not going to happen. And so it always stuck in my mind. So I've seen lots of kids and people growing up, and they get to even their early 20s, they don't really know what they want to do in their career. And really from probably 7, 8, 9, I knew what I wanted to do. I knew the qualifications I needed to do, the route I needed to do, how I was going to try and get there. So I was very fortunate in that regard, so that's what I wanted to do, and I was able to do it.
That's fantastic.
I wanted to be a journalist because I wanted to do cricket.
Yeah.
That was my thing. And I never have, and I'm always say to myself, I'm quite glad I haven't, because it means that my pleasure hasn't become work. Have you found a clash there?
Yes, that is one of the downsides to it, isn't it? Because particularly when it's good times, when Argyle have had a big win, or they've got promoted, and everyone's enjoying the moment and watching the players go do the lap of honour around the pitch, or you're sat head down looking at a laptop, typing away furiously on a keyboard, and then dashing down to interview people. And for the hour or two after a big game, there's an awful lot to do, and you miss out on all that excitement.
Euphoria.
Euphoria. Yeah, if I can say it right. You miss out on all of that, and because I'm always reporting at games, you don't often get the chance to sit and enjoy a game of football for what it is, a game of football, the highs and lows. And, when I do get a chance to go and see a game and I'm not working, it is lovely not to be looking at your watch to see, what minute is gone, and but who put that cross in for the goal there, and things. It sounds stupid, but you're right, Bill. I think it is work. I know it might sound, what kind of work is it to go and report on football? But you're focused and concentrating on what you're doing, and all the stuff that goes on around the outside, you don't perhaps appreciate as much as you would like to, or you do as a supporter when you go along.
I'll tell you what, people don't appreciate how difficult it is as well. I did it once. I was working for CSV Media, and we worked in partnership with Pirate FM, and Duncan Warren did Saturday afternoon show, and my mate Andy Ballantyne used to do reporting on it, and he was away, and he said, well, Rob, you have a go, as if it's just easy. And I turned up with no prep, just sat there, and
that's
nothing.
Unusual.
It was a 0-0 draw against Northampton, and he came over to me every quarter of an hour, and I could not think of anything to say. Someone had a shot. It was Hasni El Joffre. I found out afterwards. I made up an entirely different person's name as a result. It was just an absolute car crash. It is so difficult to do what you do, and people don't really appreciate it.
It's in the modern age, for example, we have live blogs. So during the game, you are constantly updating a live blog. But also the idea is to have a match report ready at the final whistle. So you're doing the live blog, and then when you've posted the live blog, then you keep updating your match report, and then you top and tail it at the end like old-fashioned journalists always used to do. So you'd have a running report, and you still do that now. So there's an awful lot going on, which goes back to the point we were just saying that sometimes people say, what did you think of that incident or that incident? And you probably spend a lot of your time looking down at a keyboard, rather than at the pitch, which is why when you go to grounds like Home Park, fortunately, they have TV screens there. That's a godsend, because you can...
They didn't when I was there.
No, and that's only a relatively recent thing, and most probably League One clubs don't, but because Argyle were in the Championship recently, they put the TVs, there's big screens and things like that. So, but yeah, I think anyone that reports on football now who says they watch the whole game is probably not being totally honest about it, because you spend so much of your time looking at your keyboard, writing things, tweeting, all sorts of. It's very different from the days when I started at the Herald, and it was the Evening Herald then, Bill, and I would go along on a Saturday afternoon
in the good old days
with a notepad and pen.
Really?
That was all I needed.
Did we have a green in then? So a football edition.
Before I started, yes, and then we tried it. I think for one season, around about 2005-06. But even then, sort of the days of the old pink uns or green uns and things were beginning to dwindle. We did do it for one season. We did a wraparound, so we had the report around the front. So we had the Saturday edition of the Herald, just exactly as it was.
In green paper.
But then 5 o'clock there'd be a wraparound and away you'd go. So gone from notepad and pen to all sorts of multimedia equipment these days. Shorthand, yeah, I learnt that at college.
I was going to say, so this kind of gives us the opportunity to go back to how you got in it. So you've decided at 8 that you want to be a sports journalist. What happened between then and start in Ramsgate? By the way, I was in Ramsgate last week. I could see Ramsgate. Well, I wasn't in Ramsgate. I could see it from the golf course that was playing last week. I was over near Royal St George's last week.
Yes, okay, yeah.
So what happened between you being 8 in Ramsgate and you becoming a fully fledged sports reporter?
Yeah, I suppose. Like I said, I knew from a fairly young age that the qualifications I'd need to get and the path I'd need to take. So did my A-levels, then went to the NCTJ course in Portsmouth at Highbury College. I think quite a few people have been to Highbury over the years. Had a year there, so 85 to 86. You say about shorthand, T-line.
How many times?
I passed on my 8th attempt.
Not bad. It's not bad.
I think if I remember...
Is it difficult, is it?
Yes.
There's very little margin for error as well. I can't remember. It was like you could only afford to get like 2 words out of 100 wrong or something like that. And I do remember it was £7. The first exam was free. But everyone after that was £7, I'm sure it was.
That's an incentive.
And
at that time, that's 7 pints.
And so that's 85, 86 that was.
Yeah, that's 7 pints.
Do you know anyone who passed first time?
No. So it was motivation.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like anyone who's ever sat a shorthand exam, I could do it. We did 2 hours every day.
Yeah.
So from September to June, we did 2 hours every day. On T-line, because it's like learning a new language, and it's the
only way to learn by repetition.
So I was fine. We do loads of mocks or trial, no problem at all. And then you get in the exam room, and as soon as your brain sort of paused, that was it. You were lost, or I was anyway. And
because it used to be 100 words a minute.
Yeah.
So and did they feed stuff into your ears
that
you were translating or something?
No, they would just be someone would be reading a speech out in front of you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And of course, they don't stop because they have to go at 100 words a minute.
Yeah.
So if you lose it, you lost it.
It's gone, isn't it?
Yeah. As soon as you pause, you're lost. There's no way you're coming back from it, sort of thing. So I still use T-Line even now, and people who see me at press conferences and things like that, we've all got our own recording devices, phones and what have you. But I still use the shorthand. One, as it's a sort of a safety net, a fail safe. There's something there. But there is part of me that thinks I spent so much time learning this. I would hate to just sort of stop and because I think if I stopped, I'd forget it. It'd be probably like learning the little German that I did at O level, and then I can't remember anything.
After all this time, you'd surely remember. Yeah. Do you think it's a dying art then?
Shorthand?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is it still part of the journalistic qualification? But it isn't.
I don't know is the answer.
I was looking into it about 10 years ago, and it was then, but I'm not sure it's still
when I left, it was being discussed heatedly on both sides.
Right.
And I was a great believer in, you've got to keep shorthanded, until I actually thought about it. And I sort of thought, why?
Yeah.
I think everyone has a way of recording something these days, don't they? I do it just as a safety net, but then I've never needed it as a safety net. So I think I could quite easily not take a notepad because just for example, something went wrong with your phone recording thing, then somebody would just WhatsApp you a copy of it, that they'd recorded or something like that. It's one of those things, isn't it? One of the many.
Are sports journalists that collaborative now?
I think
because when I started out, it would have been a dream if if the person next to you pen ran out or something. You just,
fantastic.
You'd get the story they didn't. Yeah, I'm ahead.
I think there was so much competition back then, and I'm not saying there isn't competition now, but it feels like because of say all sports clubs have their own communications and media departments, and because of the social media and there's so many alternate ways people find out their information these days, that when you're in the media, you're almost a little pack. And certainly when you're in Plymouth, we will see the Argyle manager on a Thursday, and Ross Reed and Alan Richardson from Radio Devon and me and Jackie Bird, you'll remember Bill.
Yeah.
We're the sort of regulars that sort of turn up, and we all get on. And if anyone needs any help, we'll help each other out with it, anything we can. So whether that is a true sort of national level, and maybe it's a bit more cutthroat, I don't know. But I don't. If you try to record an interview and it fails for whatever reason, there's no reason why somebody else wouldn't help you out.
Recording somebody else. Yeah.
But
that's a sort of change in the job, isn't it? Is the rest of the job pretty much the same, other than the technology?
It's the same. It's the same, obviously, watching the games, but the approach is totally different because you don't have newspaper deadlines to worry about. People say, "What time are your deadlines?" Well, your deadline is a minute ago. It's you can never get a story out soon enough. It's always got to be, or in an ideal world, it'd be a little bit earlier. When I started the Herald, we had set deadlines. We would come in in the morning and like 9 o'clock first edition, 1 o'clock City final. Your whole day was built around those newspaper deadlines. Now you just write something as soon as you can and you get it out there. You can schedule stories sometimes as well to sort of hit peak times where people, lunch times and evenings when people are reading it. But it's the same job. Same job title, but I think it is very different. Social media's had such an impact. Videos, all sorts of different ways of content, TikToks, everything. It's a far cry from, when I worked at the Ship all those years ago.
Yeah. Is it as easy to get the information out from clubs as it used to be? I'm thinking about online, the clubs have their own sort of media reporting arm now. And do they kind of keep stuff to themselves and say, well, you can get it from our media reporting arm?
Yeah, to a degree. And that's fair enough. Why wouldn't they do that?
Mm-hmm.
I can see that from their perspective. It is frustrating at times.
I'll bet.
But you build up relationships. That's one part of the job I don't think has changed, that you try and build up contacts and relationships with people. And so although, Argyle or any football club might want certain stories broken in certain ways, and me as the journalist would like it done in a different way, you can normally find common ground, or give and take, and sometimes you have to say, well, I'd rather it had happened this way, but the club wanted it that way, and vice versa. The club over the years have been pretty helpful, but you're not always going to see eye to eye on things.
I guess that's the biggest change, actually, isn't it? In that, when you and I both started in Plymouth, Argyle's best media arm was the Herald.
Yes.
That's how they got their message out.
Yes.
Which made for an uncomfortable relationship sometimes, because,
when you wanted to criticise.
Well, we'd say we're your biggest fan, but we're also your biggest critic.
Yeah.
Which
is
their
fair.
biggest fan would be. Yeah, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But there was no other outlet really for football clubs then, was there?
No, that's it.
It was us.
That's hitting the nail on the head, Bill.
And that relationship was really important. But
Yeah.
now their own media operations, aren't they?
Yes.
From the Premier League all the way. I mean, Argyle's is quite good, actually, isn't it?
It's really good. Some
Yeah.
of the content they do is great.
Is Siobhan Robbie still
Yes.
in charge there?
Yeah, she's involved in
She's really
inclusion and diversity. Yeah.
Yeah. So who's the Argyle manager that was the most sort of responsive, that you had the best relationship with? And the following question to that as well. Which one did you find the most difficult to work with so far?
Well, the most responsive is Ian Holloway, because he was
legend.
was such a larger than life character. Great entertainment, and been to so many different clubs.
Great company.
Yeah.
I can vouch for that from nights down at the cider press when I used to work there.
Yeah, as good to talk to about football as he was. He was talked about other stuff as well.
Yeah.
He was lively on any subject you wanted to talk to him about. He's a really clever guy, I thought.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed working with him for 18 months. Likeable. I think most managers in my experience have been pretty good, because it isn't always easy to have a local reporter relationship with a manager, because it is when things are going well, and obviously when things go badly, then it is more tricky. But I do think it's where the old-fashioned sort of show people respect, be polite, be persistent, be fair, be objective. I've always thought one of my key strengths is that I go to every game, so players, managers can never say to me, well,
What do you know about it?
Yeah. I haven't played professional football.
Have you missed a game?
I've missed a few, but not many. I missed 3 last season. But no, I don't. If I missed 2 or 3 out of 55 in a season, that's
good.
That's about it, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So I do feel that if you can look at someone and say, look, I've seen 53 matches this season, I do feel like I'm well placed to give an opinion on it. Now, you might not agree with that, but I do feel that I'm in a position to do so. So I think most football managers respect that and understand that you have a job to do. Tom Cleverley, the current Argyle head coach, has been excellent. He went for a really rough patch last season and was always fronting up and answered the questions that had to be asked. So I've enjoyed working with him. And then we've had all sorts of managers over the years. Least favourite, I don't think.
You have to name
I'm not
names.
really fit. Yeah, I mean, managers who are under pressure and have had bad results, it is harder.
Ian Foster, for instance, maybe.
And he was only with Argyle for 3 months, and it's hard to
Yeah.
build up a relationship with somebody in that period of time. It went dreadfully wrong for him and for Argyle during that time.
I remember seeing him on the touchline in the first game and just thinking, he just doesn't look like he's in control here. It just felt like he was struggling from day one, right from the moment he stood on the touchline for the first time. It looked like he was struggling with the whole concept of being a manager. And
I think one of the things that he had to deal with was that he was replacing a very successful manager in Steven Schumacher, and a bit like David Moyes at Manchester United after Sir Alex Ferguson. You know, sometimes when a manager's been really successful, you probably don't want to be the person that replaces that one. You probably want to be the one afterwards, don't you?
Like Arne Slot.
Well, like Arne Slot. He got away with it for a season, didn't he?
Yeah. And and the fans all said, well, that's Klopp's team, and like, so he didn't even get credit when he did deliver, you know.
Yeah, so
He only won the league.
Yeah.
so he's a good example, isn't he?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
where you've got a really hard act to follow.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, that's one thing that's definitely changed. You know, patience is very rare thing in these days with social media and everyone having opinions, which is fine. But you don't get patience, you don't get time. If you don't get results, you're out the door. As Ian Foster found out, you know, how can you really judge him as a manager and as a head coach after 3 months? I think it was 13 games, but that's the world. That's the world we live in.
To me, just didn't look like he knew what. He
I don't
was
think it was a
doing.
good fit.
Yeah, no.
And I think everyone, you know, would agree with that. That yeah, right. Sometimes you turn up at a club, right place, right time.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't the case.
Because sure, he went off to Stoke, and it didn't feel like a good fit there, did
No,
it?
no. And he struggled, isn't he? He I think lasted 4 or 5 months there, and
Shouldn't have left. I said it. At
the grass isn't always greener, is it?
Am I right?
But
in
if someone's
thinking-
offering you $1 million or whatever it was,
well,
then
you leave,
yeah,
don't you?
maybe
Of course
it
you
is.
leave, yeah. And he'd have got all that money as well in his payoff, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would.
There's nothing better than being a football manager, is there? You work 6 months and get paid for the full 5 years contract. It's fantastic. Chelsea are still paying, I think I read somewhere, Chelsea are still paying 5 different managers.
It must be incredible what Chelsea pay out to ex-managers.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. And, you know, Chelsea supporters, you know, might think, well, my ticket for this, that and the other pays for the wages and things like that. And you think, crikey, you could be paying, you know, the Chelsea manager from 3 times ago, couldn't you?
Still paying Graham Potter, I know that.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Are there times when you know stuff and you're not allowed to report it? So the rumour went around that when Miran Muslic was appointed, that Shuey had said yes and that everything was in place, and that apparently he started telling a couple of the players, and then they said no because you've let the cat out of the bag before.
There's always rumours around appointments and things like that. Do you know? Sometimes you know things. It's my job to try and get those rumours or the stories out as soon as I can. Sometimes you can do that without the say-so of a football club. Sometimes you have to abide by embargoes. And in this day and age, particularly, football agents are very heavily involved in things, and a lot of the rumours and speculation are centred around guys who know people who pass things on. So it can get quite convoluted at times.
Do you ever report a rumour?
How's the best way to put it? It needs to be something that you feel that you have been able to stand up in some way, shape or form.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a 100% hard and fast, but if it is a rumour in inverted commas, but one that you feel quite strongly by, you know, you've got to make clear it's reported or rumoured or thought to be or understood.
But you'd always try and, I mean, I'm speaking for you here because I know you would, but you'd always try and corroborate a rumour.
Absolutely.
You know, you're not, there are rumour websites out there for all football clubs, aren't there?
You go on social media and there's all sorts of transfer speculation, particularly at this time of year. There's not a lot of football news out there at the moment, so there's going to be all sorts of rumours. If you worked for any local paper, local website, and wrote about every single player that your football club's linked with, you know, you'd have countless stories. But the job that I have to do is to have people thinking that if Chris has written a story about this, there's got to be some degree of truth to it and some authority behind it. It's not just, we're just going to link our goal with some player because it's a quiet day sort of thing. So it's hopefully over the years people appreciate that I do try and check things, I do try and corroborate things, so that when we put something out, it is, you know, has got a good degree of accuracy to it, and that's maybe where local newspapers, local websites need to really focus on going forward, because there are so many ways for people to find out their information these days. But a lot of that information isn't going to be accurate or true. And that's where, the Herald, Plymouth Live, and all the various examples of that around the country, we need to try, and that's one of our core strengths. We can be authority, insight, and that's where, people say, journalism, how's it going to survive in this day and age? I think that's a real area that people need to focus on. Authority, respected people, professionals.
Yeah, making sense out of the soup.
Yeah.
We've talked about it quite a lot on this show, and we've kind of come to the conclusion of much the same. It's got to be kind of highbrow, factual, investigative, detailed reporting, and people will pay for that. They won't pay for just loads of gossip, etc., that is made up.
One of the sort of key words in both of our journalistic training would have been fair and balanced.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you're writing a court report, football report, a review of it, if it's fair and balanced. And funnily enough, I think that that's gonna come to the fore again, isn't it? Because people are looking for fair and balanced, even in politics now. Which I still read a lot about. And that's something you want: fair and balanced reporting. I don't want bigoted, whether it's right wing or left wing. You want something that's fair and balanced. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people will end up gravitating back to that. I hope people end up gravitating back to that. I think it's a bit polarized at the moment, but I think people will end up feeling like, well, I want stuff that's fair and balanced rather than stuff that just agrees with me. Hopefully.
Interestingly, I saw, this is a bit off topic, but I saw that within Reach, because it was a big thing when I was leading transformation in Reach, that we were launching live brands. So, for example, the Herald website became Plymouth Live, and
I see.
Belfast Live was the first one. We had everything live as a live network. But I see last week that Nottingham and Stoke have gone back to the original newspaper brands.
Have
Stoke
they?
Sentinel and the Nottingham Post.
I think it's sensible. I think the problem with the live thing is you get tempted into just chucking stuff out there, and it's like it's unverified or just clickbait stuff. And if you can just be a bit more cerebral and a bit more highbrow and accept your audience is going to be a bit smaller but probably a bit more committed, it's got to be better, hasn't it?
Herald on the way back, Chris?
I don't know. That's way above my pay.
Possibly comment.
That's way above my pay grade. What I would say on that is that I quite often see people, if I'm out in the town and people are kind enough to come up and say, hello, Chris, I read your stuff. A lot of people still, I read your stuff in the Herald. Now, unfortunately, the Herald sales are not what they were. But I think people still still have the identity of the Herald, and it's in their minds, and they may no longer buy the paper. But the Herald as a brand, and all newspapers, the Nottingham Post, the Stoke Sentinel, the two that you've just mentioned,
strong brands.
They were strong brands, and I'm quite proud to still say that I work for the Herald and Plymouth Live.
I still think of it as the Herald.
Yeah, and I've spent 30 years working for the Herald.
Yeah, great.
You must. Is there a longer serving football single team football reporter? I bet there isn't.
Not many.
There might be in some of the lower leagues, I would have thought. But
not many. There's a few.
There's probably someone who's been doing it for 60 years out there somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah, I'll be covering
Gillingham or something.
There's a couple in the 20 years who I've seen recently. Simon Parker, who works for the Bradford Telegraph and Argus.
Yeah.
And Mark Isles, who's the Bolton News. And they're both well into their 20s covering their respective clubs, and we quite enough when we see each other, we quite often have a little laugh about how we've done 50 odd years between the
you're
two
like
of us.
Alligators, aren't you?
Aging alligators.
So we are coming towards the end of the episode. I wanted to ask you a couple of things. So best ever Argyle season?
The 03-04 season, when they won promotion and the league title on the same day against QPR, 20,000 people at Home Park. It's the loudest I've ever heard Home Park. It was Bobby Williamson's first match as Argyle manager, and we're not sat too far away from the radio studio where Sparksy used to do a lot of his shows for Radio Devon, and the immortal line when David Freo scored 2-0, that's it, Argyle are up. And that still gets played on the big screen at Home Park before every game, when they're building up to kick off, and you hear Sparksy's voice and remember that game. So that whole season was, fantastic.
That was Starrick's team, wasn't it?
It was Paul Sturrock's team, although he left in the
went
March
to Southampton.
And then Bobby Williamson came in. His first game was the game.
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
I mean,
well done, Bobby Williamson.
Could that ever have happened before, that his first match was a league title success? So, that was an amazing season. And I understand why it's changed, and we've talked about how clubs have their own media departments and so do a lot more of their own content with players and stuff like that. But that 03-04 squad, I'd like to think quite a few of them would consider me sort of as a friend or somebody that they liked working with, sort of thing. And you mentioned Hasni Al Joffrey, and he does a lot of away game commentaries for Argyle these days.
Right.
And always see Hasni and have a good chat with him. David Norris, Peter Gilbert, people like that. You see them and you. So it was,
I live next door to Mickey Evans.
Well, a good bloke to live next door
great.
to. So you got, not only did you get to tell the story, but you got to know the people really quite well. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons we came into journalism, is that you wanted to get to know people and build up relationships, or I did, build up that connection so that people would trust you, speak freely, you get better interviews if you know people and things like that. So that 03-04 season was just before football clubs started to sort of come up with their own media and things like that. So I did enjoy that season. That was a great.
And it means so much to the town, to the city, when the football team's doing well. Like 3 years ago, when we went up to the Championship, I went down to the Barbican that evening, and it was just unbelievable. The atmosphere was so joyous; it was unbelievable.
But I think that team you're talking about, and that management team they had at Home Park at the time, under Starrick, Paul Stapleton would have been chairman, wouldn't he? But before it all went wrong, as it inevitably does in football, they got that. The club was run and owned by a team of local businessmen who you would see walking around town, wouldn't you, regularly? Yeah. And they were approachable, and they understood
how much it means to us.
And Starrick, even though I was terrified of him when I first met him, mainly because of his alcohol consumption. He literally put a whiskey in front of you and wait till he drunk it till he would speak to you. But they got it, and the whole team got it, and the team were very approachable. I remember we used to do Herald events; they would all come.
They all lived in Plymouth, Bill. That's the thing, and that's where I always think when Argyle do well is you've got that bond and camaraderie, and quite a few of the players lived very close to each other, just to the north of Plymouth there, and they definitely got Plymouth. And you were at the Herald, and when we did the Sports Personality of the Year awards, and
they all came.
Yeah. Argyle were fully invested in it. They saw it as the Herald were of the voice of Plymouth. It was on the paper every day, wasn't it? And that was a really good period, because when a football team is doing well, the city is a much better place to be, without a shadow of a doubt. You don't have to be an Argyle fan.
It's the same as the sun being out. Changes it. Changes the whole city.
And what about the worst season in that time, in those 29 years?
The administration time, sort of 2010, 11, because...
worse than Dan McCauley? 97.
Dan was a character. Dan was a character, and it was tricky. I mean, the Herald were banned from Hope Park for doing some games, and I went up. I went up a
whole season and a cherry picker.
Not a whole season, but a few games.
Looking over the top?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Because we were banned.
That's fantastic. But actually got a cherry picker, sent you up so you could watch the games for free.
Quick story, Colin Channon was the sports editor at the time. He used to be at the Portsmouth News. The Portsmouth News had been banned over for some reason. It used to happen quite a bit in the old days, didn't it? And so the Portsmouth News had got a cherry picker to go behind the old Fratton end before it was redeveloped, and they could just look over. So when the same thing happened with us at Argyle, before the Horseshoe, so it's the old Devonport end, so fairly fairly low roof and everything. Colin came up with the idea we'd have the cherry picker. So, we had a few games where we watched from, I think it was about 60 feet up in the air.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, when you don't like heights, it wasn't the best. It was when the guy said to me, "Do you want a harness?" And I said, "Of course I want a harness." And I was 60 foot up in the air.
What? Who would say no to that?
And that was one of the few times where I didn't have my notepad and pen because I took a dictaphone up with me. So I had one hand gripping to the rail so that there was no way anything bad could happen. And then instead of writing notes, I'd get the dictaphone going and say, 5th minute, Martin Barlow cross for Carlo Corazin, and then went home in the evening and transcribed it all up.
Oh, I love that. That's hilarious. That's really good.
So, yeah. But the administration period, we've just said how important Argyle is to the city of Plymouth, and for the city of Plymouth to come, quite close to losing one of its biggest assets was not nice, not a pleasurable experience. Yeah. But thankfully, the club have got through that, and yes, they've had highs and lows since, but that's the case for most.
Some characters come in and out during that period, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Peter Ridsdale,
who I enjoyed working with. Bill,
the Riddler.
The Riddler. I enjoyed working with him. He was, he would have definitely. Old school journalists would appreciate him more because you could have an off the record chat with him and things like that. He was, I enjoyed him.
I remember him coming to speak at a business breakfast that I was at upstairs overlooking Sutton Harbour. Is that Foot Anstey's? Mm-hmm. Anyway,
yeah. So
he bewitched the whole room. He did. He had the whole room eating out the palm of his hand.
But I think on the whole, you have bad times, but you've got to sometimes have bad times to appreciate the good times, and that's certainly the case with Plymouth Argyle. And when they have good times, like they did under Sherry in 22-23, and the whole city, the whole club, the fan base, everyone comes alive, and then to have the opportunity to be able to tell the story of that, very fortunate to have been able to do that.
Yeah, very much so. So final question then really is, I teach loads and loads of students who really want to become sports journalists, and what advice do I take back to them? How do they go about it now as opposed to when you were young?
I would tell them, don't believe that journalism is dying. It's just evolving and changing. And yes, when I was coming through, the newspapers were the be-all and end-all, and there was such a big thrill to have your byline on the back page or the front page, depending if you were news and sports reporter. You got a real buzz out of that. To go into WH Smith's or wherever, pick up a copy of the local paper, and there's your name. That was such a big deal. Now, you don't get that, and there isn't the newspapers, but I do believe that there is so much talk, chatter out in the world that we as a society, without sounding too serious about this, need to have people that will hold people to account, will challenge people, will ask questions, will be inquisitive, will be diligent, will work hard to find out the truth, be fair and balanced, as Bill said. All those things are really important for a society going forward. And the journalists of the future might not be working for newspapers, they might be working for there might be all sorts of different media outlets, but they have an important task to fulfill all those roles. So I would encourage anyone that's curious, is interested in the beauty of journalism. You can go down so many avenues. I've went down football, but you can go down all sorts of different routes and different interests. But absolutely go for it. It won't be the same career in journalism that I've had, but I'm sure it'll be a very fulfilling one for them.
Thank you, Chris. One final question. Are you pleased with Crystal Palace this season?
Absolutely delighted. I managed to get a ticket to go to Leipzig to see them in the Conference League final. So, go a little bit about Bill saying, what's it like when you're watching football and it's Argyle and when it's not, and to go to the Conference League final, watch my team, who I've followed the highs and lows over the years, win a European final was amazing. So yeah,
I'll bet.
Yeah. So
to actually be able to get there,
to be there as a fan and enjoy it was fantastic. But
I'm a Forest fan, and we got so close this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's football. It's such fine margin sometimes, isn't it?
And we might not get another chance for years. You never know.
No.
Chris, thank you so much for that. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me on.
everybody, if you have enjoyed this episode, can you please like and subscribe? We are desperate to get more people listening, and make sure that we spread the word of Stop the Press. And if you would like to email us, we are on stopthepresspodcast@gmail.com. But for now, thank you for listening, and goodbye.